The markets crash, interest rates go up, and the iBuyers are running for cover on today's Unnamed Real Estate Podcast. Hi there, this is Charles Ray Dawson, Associate Broker and Residential Sales Manager of ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, episode 85. And I got my software working again. I'm very happy. I'm just absolutely delighted. It was a technical problem that I probably would have figured out, if I'd thought about it really hard the first couple days or so when it started happening. But, Windows updates, you always never know what they're going to be doing in the background and what they're going to wind up breaking when they roll one out. But software is back up and running. I got a couple free days this week and relatively free. I'm not running out, having to drive out to Mesa or anything. So I was actually able to record stuff. I am able to record stuff this week. So hopefully we're going to have a little bit more fun than those last two I sort of slapdashed out. So last week, like I said, pretty slap and dash and stuff like that. It's the churning out these videos are relatively easy and whatnot, but the biggest drawback you have to it is that it still takes time. And so, prep work and everything like that, I generally, I've gone over this a million times. I go through the week sort of picking up stories in the back of my mind. I got a couple browser windows open going, okay, what are we going to talk about this week? And sometimes I literally don't know what I'm going to talk about until I hit play, and then words come out of my mouth. Sometimes I actually get a chance to do a little research. It's Thursday right now. What day is it today? Thursday the 15th. Wow, we're already halfway through September. There's a panic attack for you right there. So, but, we have our sales meetings on Thursdays, which is inconveniently scheduled for me, but fine for everybody else in the office. So, me and the owner, broker, and Jessica, the office goddess, we all get together and discuss what's going on and how we're going to handle it. And Steve had a really interesting thing that came up on one of his properties he's getting ready to list, which sort of ties into, some of the meat of what we're going to be talking about today. When I do the numbers, you're going to notice the shirt change because I recorded those all on yesterday on Wednesday. There's actually two clips on that because I had to answer a question for myself. Numbers did something weird this week that really threw me for a loop, and I really had to talk it out loud to figure out what was going on. I think I came up with a resolution on that, and you'll see that at the end. And tried to reference a video on YouTube, and a little bit of technical difficulties on that because I tried to exceed my limitations. And so when you see that hard edit cut coming up later in the show, you'll know what happened there. And for the insiders who pay attention to these things, they know that if I just suddenly had a hard edit cut in the middle of the performance, they know to look for things. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Mystery boxes. Let's talk about mystery boxes and something completely unrelated to real estate. So, rings of power. What are you guys thinking? I know what I'm thinking. Anybody who's been within 15 feet of me in a bar lately knows what I've been thinking about rings of power. I think ultimately the best thing to come out of that television so far is the term Karen Sue, which I love and adore and sort of scares me at the same time because those of you know I am married to a Karen. And although I know she doesn't watch this, so I'll say this out loud, I think she is actually the original prototype because I've seen her in work mode and you can stand by. All right. Like, wow. We go out on vacations and stuff like that. I am the friendly, personable one. I'm the one who's making contact with the natives and this and that and the other thing. And she's the colonialist aggressor who's going to come in. If you don't like the carrot, I got a stick over here. She's going to whap you upside the head with it. So the Karen Sue issue going on in Rings of Power is just pretty much driving me nuts. I've quit watching it. I little second episode about 3/4, almost 4/5 of the way through, there was a scene. I was like, all right, yeah, I'm done with this. But I have been following the other reviews, seeing, okay, maybe it'll get better. I'll need to come back into it. And apparently it has not. But on the other hand, House of the Dragon is, wow. I'm having a really good time with that show. That is great storytelling. Those actors and actresses, maybe some of you guys have done theater. Is there like an acting class or something where you just sit there, you face the two actors and actresses face each other off. A third person reads the dialogue and you just emote with your face and your expressions what the lines are portraying? Because there's a couple scenes in there. I don't know the actress's name, but the one who's playing the main Targaryen princess. All right, that girl's got little facial expressions that she can just, she can say an entire paragraph. All right, she can get more content across with a smirk on her face than Shakespeare could do with a soliloquy. Seriously, love that girl. That's amazing. And of course, if you've seen the last episode. Whoa, my, that was quite rambunctious there. But okay, geeking out aside, let's talk real estate. That's what you're all here for. So, market went really, really crossways this week, right? And it's trickling down very fast. And I wouldn't even say it's trickling down now. It's the avalanche is coming down on everything. And when those numbers came out last week, the consumer price index, you saw home interest rates spike. All right, we were back up above 6, right, and it was like just one of those Estes rockets to the moon kind of routine. That was not anticipated by anybody, and so when that inflation rate came out, not at all what anybody expected. Because hey, we just spent a lot of money to drive the inflation down. Seriously. All right. When we just threw a lot of money at buying inflation down, and somewhere out there an economist is dry heaving that I just said that out loud. All right. For those of you who paid attention in Economics 101, all right, you know how stupid that line is. We just spent a lot of money to push inflation down, but somehow people thought that was going to have an effect, and it did not. But what it did do is scare the market. Interest rates were in another spike. And the question is this going to be one of those general panic spike hits where, oh my God, it goes up into the 6s for 3 or 4 days and then it starts trickling it back down when people who really want to lend money suddenly realize they can't lend you money at those interest rates. So they start dropping the price of their money. So, to get more buyers in. We'll see what happens on that. But, as this starts coming in, other institutions are getting a little bit more leery about picking up real estate. I was reading an article today, and it was, I can't even remember where it came from right now. I should have hit print on it. But they were talking to some forecasters and stuff, and said that the primary impact that this is going to have is on investors who are trying to pick up houses for rent and second home buyers and summer home buyers, those people, all right, the people that I've been calling out for a couple years now, saying, if you want to know why we have a housing crisis in Arizona, look at all the houses that are empty 9 months out of the year. So the Canadians or, people from Manitoba, or is Manitoba in Canada? It's far enough north to count. All right, those places come down here and suck up all of our sunshine during the winter, and then they take back off and they leave this empty house that we could have put a family in. So, yeah, we're seeing those people suddenly not interested in picking up a second house unless they can pay cash. And some people are a little leery about paying cash for a house in what they perceived as a down market. All right, are we in a down market? Not yet. All right, sale rates are still going down. We're still year over year higher than we were last year. All right, but that number is closing. All right. Are we going to see a loss? Probably not. Now, if you bought last month, 2 months ago, you might be a little upside down right now. All right. Especially if you're doing one of those near to 100% financing kind of deals. And there isn't 100% financing out there, but there's 3s. You can get a conventional loan in a 3. All right. Which means very little amount down. So you might be a little bit upside down right now, but not at all the way we were seeing back when we actually crashed. So You'll see a lot of headlines, and I printed this one out as Zero Hedge. Now, Zero Hedge is a lot of fun. I sort of like these guys. All right. They are so pro-Russian, it'll make your head spin. Half the time, I actually wonder if these guys are like Russian propaganda some days. They also have a lot of gold and precious metal ads on their website, which is always a red flag when I'm following anybody to see how, real solid of a news I should, how much that level of trust with any of your news sources, they lose a half a star just because of they have that perceived bias on my part. But this particular case, they're talking about this is the sharpest turn in the housing market since the 2008 crash, as mortgage rates soar above 6%. Yeah, this is the sharpest turn. All right, since 2008. Just because I'm making a statement like, oh, this is the biggest whatever since this point in time does not necessarily mean there's correlation between the two. It's like, wow, this is the best ham sandwich I've had since last night. Did I have a ham sandwich last night? No, but I can tell you that this one right here is the best one since then. So always watch for headlines like that. But we do have the interest rates pretty much at the point where we have not seen since actually November 2008, where rates were nominally this high. Remember, sixes, right? Not too long ago, right? Within the living memory of most people out there, and definitely everybody watching the show, because I'm not really popular with the teenage crowd, right? People have seen interest rates as high. What's happening though is that these high interest rates, with the run up of home prices, right, has affected affordability. All right, so that's what we're looking at in this. We're looking at, this is basically the hangover for the party we had over the last 2 years when we had the interest rates down in the 2s and 3s. So interest rates going to take a little bit for that to settle out. We're still, according to them, median sales price is still 6% year over year nationally. But mortgage payments, all right, because of the interest rates, are up 38%, year over year. That's the impact that you're having on that. And remember, as long as we're comparing everything to last year and the year before, you're going to see bad numbers. It's going to look bad because the last 2 years were such an incredible time to be buying in a house. Going through the process of buying in the house was incredibly stressful, right? But you were getting a great deal, even if you did. I remember saying this, so let's just recap it. If you pay 10% over for a house that's going to be worth 20% more next year, you're going to recoup anything you overpay in the next 6 months. That's why the smart money was buying houses back then. And we can come back off of our current, prices 10%. So hear me out. You buy a house last year, you pay 10% over, right? If you go through a year and it increases 20%, you're up 10. If it comes back down another 10%, that, you're basically at basis. You're back to normal. So I know once you really run the math on that thing, there's going to be like a percentage off north or south on that because of the way percentages work, but you get the point. All right, so that's that bit. What does this mean to the market as a whole? Less buyers are out there because less buyers can qualify for the houses are out there. We actually do see, though, on the Cromford report numbers that we're going to talk at, we're seeing demand is increasing, right? And it's increasing almost in line. In fact, this particular week, we did go up in line with supply, which pretty much makes that a push right now. But Cromford report index is about 105 right now, 100 being normal. Right, still a little bit higher than we than exact normal, but we call anything within tens a range. So anything between 90 and 110 is considered a balanced market. So if I had to say who's got the advantage right now, we still got low supply. We still got less supply than we have buyers, but from a money to spend time, it's not a good time to be a buyer, but if you can afford the house, it is a great time. This is a better time to be a buyer than we've seen in the last 3 years. All right, you're not going into multiple bid issues. You get to look at houses, and you don't have to drop everything and go see a house on Wednesday night just because it just hit the market an hour ago. All right, you can wait for the weekend. You can maybe even push a weekend off and look at a bunch of them next weekend, knowing that one or two of them might fall out, but not everything that you're looking at is going to be gone by next weekend. This, of course, don't do this if you have a time crunch coming down, like let's say your lease is coming up. Right? If your lease expires at the end of October, you really need to be looking this weekend, because this might be the last weekend you really have to look at houses. So keep an eye on that kind of stuff, people. Other thing I wanted to pull out, let's talk about our iBuyers. They're having a really bad year. Just for my own morbid curiosity, I actually looked up the stock prices, Open Door, OfferPad, and added Zillow just for fun, to see where they started this year at and where they're at the year now. Open Door started the year at $14.06 a share. They're down to $4.19 a share. OfferPad started at $6.89 a share. They're down to $1.39 a share. And Zillow has dropped from $63.44 to $35.93. Of course, stock market took a huge hit last week, or earlier this week. But this is from the beginning of the year, and they've all been trending down. Zillow's got some interesting things. They're retooling themselves right now. We're going to discuss that in just a bit. But let's talk about Open Door and OfferPad. And this is where Steve's conversation comes in. Because Steve has this property. Right, sort of protect the address for you. Boom. And he ran, a month ago, automated valuation of the property. And it came in at about $450. All right. He ran it again, this week. And it's down to $420, right? $30,000 worth of drop in that since the first time we ran it a couple of months ago to now, right? That shows us that we might have a declining, market on that. Remember, you don't lock in a loss until you sell the house. All right, but in this particular case, the automated system says, yeah, you're not going to get as much for that house as you would have, 6 months ago. But where we see the real interesting impact on this is he went and went out to the iBuyers, Open Door and OfferPad, to get quotes from them, right? And this is the latest quotes he's gotten at. Remember, we got a house, $420. Picture that in your mind, all right? OfferPad offered him $316,000, right, on a $420,000 house. That's over $100,000 less. That's almost 25%. All right, off a market price. All right. Not next door, but OfferPad came in a little bit better. They came in at $342. All right. So they are wanting a deep discount now. Remember, Zillow was actually buying houses for more than they were worth 2 years ago. That's why they're no longer in this game. OfferPad, Open Door, they were pretty much buying houses at market, backing off costs of repairs, and then putting back on the market at market price. Sometimes not doing the repairs. All right, just getting the discount from the seller by putting it back out there. But now at these prices, unless you literally don't care about money, I would not be advising any of my sellers to accept an OfferPad and Open Door offer. It's worth looking at because you never know, right? And it's good to know that you have a floor, but wow. And so why are they suddenly doing this? It's almost like they're not interested in buying houses. And the thing is, they're not interested in buying houses right now. This is from the Cromford report. All right. And they actually continued buying houses through second quarter. All right, they've been trying to get rid of houses through the third quarter, which we're in the last month of. In fact, we're in the last 15 days of the third quarter. And they're not being able to unload their properties fast enough. Right? And they're in this weird little catch-22. And this catch-22 is the same thing we saw the banks back in 2008 going through. I have a bunch of surplus inventory. If they all have value, if I throw all of this on the market at the same time, it's going to lower the value of the products I'm trying to sell. So you need to sort of try to trickle them in there putting them in there a little bit at a time, so you don't flood the market and crash it. So they're actually sort of in the same position right now. Remember, at one point they were, I don't have the number here, but at one point they were like 18% of the market. All right. And remember back when we were talking about the forbearances, right? For people who've been listening to this for a while, that those people were terrified that the forbearances were going to crash the market. You know, there's always something that's going to crash the market out there. There's always the next boogeyman that's coming down the pike that's just going, we got to be afraid of this. We got to be afraid of that. You know what I'm afraid of? EMP pulses. That's what I'm afraid of. You know, that's what keeps me up at night. All right. But there's always that next boogeyman coming down. So now everybody's starting talking about, well, if Opendoor and OfferPad drop all their houses on the market, oh my God, it's going to, crash the whole system. Well, they're not going to do that because it's going to crash the system, and they have a lot of money involved that they don't have room in their stock prices to be playing those kind of games, boys and girls. I mean, you're at $4.19 coming down from 14. You did something like that, Wall Street would hear about it 32 seconds later, and the shorts on your stock alone. My God, that's how CEOs lose their jobs, is by doing stuff like that. So they're just going to stop acquiring, sell off their inventory, hopefully sell them off as quickly as possible. We are seeing discounts on the OfferPad thing, but their business model has always been, up to this point, list it high and wait for the market to catch up with you. Eat the holding cost of that time period. Just list it high and let the prices come to you. And now we're looking at the exact opposite of that. Now they're sitting there, they're trying to drop it down to where it will actually sell, right? Because they need to get rid of that surplus inventory. Once again, great time to be a buyer right now, if you can afford it, right? Damn good time to be a cash buyer, but it's always a good time to be a cash buyer. But, if you can qualify to buy, if you can get seller's concessions, and if you're not asking for seller's concessions, slap your real estate agent, because that should be like, before they even put in the price, all right, that almost needs to be boilerplated onto the contract. 3% towards closing costs, 2% towards closing costs. And if you can get a 2-1 buy down where you're going to have 2 years of a reduced rate, right, you can get it down into the 4s doing a 2-1 buy down, and then refinance after 2 years. Don't go into one of those APRs, right? This is, this is very close to an adjustable, or ARM, very close to an adjustable rate mortgage kind of game. You're going to start seeing those come out. Oh, pay the low interest now, run it for a couple of years. This might be the new norm. 6s might be back, because remember, before all this craziness happened, all right, 6s were the norm. All right, 7.7 is still the average for the last 50 years what interest rates have been, and we're still under the average. We just need to get used to the new price of money. Unless they start making the money printing machines go brr again and just start throwing cash out of there. But, that would drive up inflation. And remember, we're trying to stop inflation. So let's spend more money. Do I sound bitter about that? No, just cynical. Snarky even, but, that's that. So, all right. That's the news so far. That's a wrap up. Let's go over to the numbers. Let's see how I do on the editing on this thing, so I can take out the stuff I need to edit out. And let's hopefully the rest of the show is as good as this part has been. See you guys on the other side of the numbers. Now the numbers for September 14th, 2022. Actives this week are 19,171, which is up 368 from the week prior. Of those, 2,222 were new listings, 141 up from the week before. Pendings this week were 1,253, up 32. Under contracts looking for backups were 751, up 12. Contracts with buyer's contingency stayed flat at 114. Closings this week were 1,376. Coming soon to an MLS near you is 676. And need to talk about this because you guys, those of you guys who were watching last week and the week before, I was projecting that we weren't going to hit over 19 because of the way the delta and everything was changing. So when I saw that number, the first thing I did is I checked to make sure I wasn't bringing in some other category besides straight actives that were bumping the numbers up. So had to do some research on this. So let's pull up my big chart. All right, very rarely to actually show this chart, but I mean, seriously, when numbers don't do what I want, expect them to do, you suddenly get my complete undivided attention. So let's look what's happening here. All right, our change down was coming slower and slower on the actives, right? That's your delta, your rate of increase, your rate of decrease. All right, and it had been trending slower and slower, going all the way back to, I think the last time we actually saw it pop up a bit was July 13th. So rest of July and all of August, the change rate was getting slower and slower. At the same time, ever since July 20th, new listings have been less each week than the previous week until this week, but we only went up 144. That doesn't really show why we might have a change of 368. All right, so where's my other 22 or 220 listings coming from? We see that pendings went up. Right, and we see that under contracts looking for backups went up, right, and we notice that contracts with a buyer's contingency stayed flat. But for demand, that sort of shows a rise. More houses went under contract than the previous week. So why this sudden change in actives? I'm tracking all the categories. Back on market over here is not something that I really talk about that much, but it was at 619, which is actually less than the week before. All right, but it was more than the week before that. And generally, it's been sitting right there in the 600, so that's not much of a change there. Coming soon's trending down, all right, trending down all the way back to 3rd of August, all right? So that's usually showing us what's going to be showing up. So where is this, 368 minus 141 and change? Where did these extra listings come from? And I don't know. I'm as shocked as you are. Usually I have an answer to everything, but this one in particular, I don't know where the extra ones came from. Because we go back and we take a look at Cromford numbers, right? We see our demand has actually trickled up, right? That was 79.9, right? So it's up over a half from last week. Remember, 2 previous weeks before that, we actually saw it sitting flat. So demand's starting to track back up. Caveat. This is not going to reflect the interest rate spike we just got over the last 2 or 3 days. These are people, all right. These people haven't seen those interest rates yet. Hopefully their lender has told them, like, immediately they started spiking. The lender started calling down the Rolodex, going, "Hey guys, remember when I quoted you that? Well, it's not that anymore." All right. But we also see that uptick in supply. That was 75.9, and now it's at 76.5. So both cases, we went up, both in supply and demand, by 0.6. So what's going on? Don't know. All right, it's fun to watch. Even more fun to live in the middle of this thing. But I'm going to keep tracking, recording this on Wednesday, and if I come up with any good answers, I'm going to have it right after these numbers. Okay, I think I got it. Let's take a look at this. So, the thing that I was missing on why our actives changed so much in the direction I wasn't expecting is because I wasn't looking at the week before pending numbers and the week before's new listing numbers. Okay, if you take a look at right here, okay, we hit 2215 on August 31st. We're at 2220 right now. Okay, so that's a five house difference, all right? But we dropped down 136, and then we bounced back up. Now that's the weekend of September, and guess what happened over that week? All right, Labor Day weekend. That's what screwed everything up. Labor Day weekend, everybody goes on vacation and doesn't look. That created an artificial down spike. All right, in both new listings, pendings, under contracts looking for backups, and contracts with buyer contingency. That's why we have that line of red right across there. All right, so when that happens, everybody who was supposed to list, all right, that weekend pushes out past the 3-day weekend. I personally would have tried to rush onto the 3-day weekend myself to maximize the exposure. All right, but Labor Day, parties, holidays, let's go camping, that kind of stuff. So that's what screwed everything up. All right. So instead of this trend line, which is still going down, all right, what we missed is everybody suddenly stepping out for new listings, pendings, under contract. And so we see that sizable bump across all the numbers. And of course, those listings coming back on, all right, returning back to these numbers, which, hey, here's an interesting question. Is 2220 the new norm? All right. Because if you go 2221 to 2215, lose the weekend, drop that out, we're at 2220. Could be that's our new baseline for listings coming on. But it was because of that sudden hit that we took, because everybody else dropping out. That's why we see the sudden surge. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Yep, just to wrap everything up. Other day, spending my, turning my brain off, various videos are playing, and YouTube, or I think it was YouTube, and actually it might have been Twitter, I saw a trailer for a television show, and it was done in the style of some real estate videos. You see agents when they're promoting a listing will do these entire guided tours, and they go out there and they hire the camera guys and they hire the sound guys, and they'll go through and they'll walk the property and talk about, and over here we have a pretty kitchen, and it was just tone perfect for how those videos work. It sort of caught my attention because I recognized the person is like, hey, wait a minute, that's Stifler's mom. All right. I mean, I thought she was getting work. And acting work, actress work, not necessarily moving over into real estate, although a lot of people do that as a their second career. In fact, up in Park City, Utah, there was a gentleman who was a real estate agent in Park City, Utah, very high-end stuff. In his previous life, he was a porn star. All right, so I used to work IT. A lot of people do get into real estate as a second job, or retirement job, whatever. And for some of them, it shows. When I'm having a conversation with you, or sending an offer over, or receiving an offer from you, I could tell you used to do something else until about 6 weeks ago. But anyway, so Stifler's mom up there, and for people who don't know who she is, her name is actually Jennifer Coolidge. She's doing this very, very formal presentation. I'm going to do something here I've never done before, and we're going to give this a shot. All right. I am actually going to try to change something up and do this with the system sound on, so you can get sort of a view. Now, I might get a copyright strike on this, all right? If they take the video down, they take the video down, all right? I did get one before when I was doing the videos. I was reviewing real estate agents in the movies and on television, and because of the American Beauty soundtrack, and somehow the algorithms came up and went, oh my God, we hear the American Beauty soundtrack, and so we're going to hit you with a copyright strike, even though, that was literally fair use, and I could have gone to the mattresses with it and sent a letter over explaining to these guys the First Amendment right of fair use when it comes to using copyrighted materials when you're making commentary on said copyrighted material. That was just too much hassle. Besides, it's not like I've monetized this site or anything like that. But let's take a look and see if I can get this done. All right. So this is Jennifer Coolidge, apparently in a show coming out on Netflix called The Watcher. Some sort of horror movie or something like that, but like I said, this video right here is just tone perfect as an example of what they do on some of these things. I'm not going to play the whole thing, I'm just going to hit some cuts and highlights, so hold on.
From Darren Dunn Realty, this is 657 Boulevard, and this is my listing. Are you ready? Come on in.
Yeah, so you start seeing these things, and if you have the production house that can do the marketing and stuff like that, you see these on the high end side of the house, all right? This thing right here probably would run a couple $1,000s for a agent to create and promote a listing this way, right? Whenever I've done a video walkthrough, I'm pretty much just sitting there with my phone wandering around and doing a talk over the kind of thing. This might become a more, if you see this enter the market with a, in fact, I'm thinking about it in my head right now. a very cheap way of doing all of this. I mean, I got a videographer out in the Philippines right now that I'm paying $10 an hour to edit my some of my videos and whatnot. I mean, I could probably get the video editing side of this thing probably would take less than, say, 5 hours worth of work. So I could do that for 50. It's the photography and it's the lighting and everything like that. But let's continue on with this because
The craftsmanship is incredible.
one, I got a serious case of listing envy, to be honest with you, but you know, it makes me want to watch this movie, right? And then I find out that it's actually some sort of psych or stock or horror movie kind of routine, and it's probably sounds like it's going to be a comedy just because of the tone and everything else. But this is definitely something I want to take a look at. Let me see if I can find something else for you guys. All right. Yeah, too much of my life is on YouTube. This is me pausing this to come back to it. Wow. Long story short, couldn't find it in the amount of time I looked for it. So I'll get a little bit more work tonight. But if I don't, I'm going to record this, put this in here. So life is good. So that should wrap it all up. Don't know what's going on with interest rates right now. I've gotten 2 to 3 different answers from various agents or various lenders and whatnot. That stock market hit has really upended a whole bunch of stuff going on. Same with the commercial price index numbers, which nobody was expecting. In fact, they were so not expecting it, they decided to throw a party at the same time the market was on fire. Optics. So what can you do? Well, what you can do is you can watch your kids and pets around water. Right? Don't think we're going to have any storms this weekend, but still don't drive into any flooded washes. Right? Work your circles, because in times like this, we all need a circle. And have a great weekend. Thank you guys for watching. No, none of that. There was once upon a time a really, really great Australian video. Somebody actually had like a luxury home in Australia, and they were doing, my God, what the hell? This is what happens when you put in bikinis in the search engine. I probably should have paused this and then found it and got back to it. Okay, hold on for a second.